Affective Humanistic approach. To formally start my discussion, let us define first what is cognitive approach. So cognitive approach concentrates on how the brain processes language and how language structures and knowledge are acquired and remembered. So meaning, as defined here, that this approach is focused more on the learner characteristics and to the ways and strategies that can help the learners acquire the target language easily. That is why this approach considers the conscious study of language rules as central to the learning of a foreign language, since this approach assumes that learners can easily acquire the target language if they already understand the rules. That is why rules are being emphasized in this approach, as this is believed to be the way for learners to acquire the language easily. So most of the instruction in this approach is given individually, since learners are responsible to their own learning. Grammar can be taught deductively or either inductively. When we say deductively, rule will be given first and then later will be the practice. Or when we say inductively, rules can either be stated after practice or left as an implicit information for the learners to process on their own. So in this approach, pronunciation is de-emphasized, since perfection is viewed as unrealistic and unattainable. Reading and writing as important as listening and speaking. So these four macro skills are given emphasis in this approach as well, since cognitive adhere to the rule acquisition, it is important that the learners employ these four. Errors are viewed as inevitable, since this will help the teacher to understand what rules should be explicitly taught. And lastly, in this approach, teachers are expected to have a good general proficiency in the target language as well as an ability to analyze the target language. And now, let's proceed to the affective humanistic approach, which is fully opposite to the cognitive, since this one gives much emphasis to the inner world of students, like their thoughts, feelings, and emotion are put into the forefront of the development. Meaning that the major focus of this approach is to make learners feel comfortable and provide them with a soothing learning experience, since this approach believes that learning happens in a good state of mind. So teachers in this approach are expected to strive hard to make the learners feel comfortable and let the students feel that they are valuable and loved. In this approach, respect for every individual is strongly emphasized as well. Most of the instruction in this approach are work in pairs and small groups, since communication and interaction are necessary and also important in learning language. So in this approach, class atmosphere is viewed to be more important than the materials or method. That is why it's very important that the class atmosphere is established nicely and every learner must feeling good with it, since this one is viewed as prominent in the affective humanistic approach. The teacher is a counselor or facilitator, and they are also expected to be proficient in the target language and the student's native language, since translation may be used heavily in these initial stages to help the students feel at ease, and later part it can gradually phase out. And now for our integration. So the question is, how can we relate this to our present situation? So this one can relate to us, especially that we are EDUC students, and of course we will become a teacher someday. Knowing these approaches will be the biggest advantage to all of us, since this one will serve as our guide and will help us on how we are going to deal our future learners. As we all know that learners learn in different ways, so it's very important for us teachers to identify what appropriate approach that will be suitable for our future learners. And that way, we can establish an effective and soothing teaching and learning experience in the classroom. And here are my references. And that's conclude my presentation. Thank you so much everyone for listening.